Hey everyone, Aaron here, and today I wanted to pass along a little piece of advice, a little bit of wisdom that I gleaned during my time in Nashville. And, you might be a musician, or maybe you're an aspiring producer or engineer. Probably you're a guitar player if you watch this channel and my many pedals that I demo. But if you're considering like trying to find work in the creative world, in the music world, it can kind of be a minefield out there. It's like, how do I do that? How do I get someone to pay me to like play on their record? Or how do you approach money versus like, maybe it's just your friend who you're working on their project, and whatever. And there was a saying that was going around in Nashville at the time when I was there. I don't remember who first said it, but it was this. When you're considering taking on a project, consider these three things. And I've actually got some visual aids that I've prepared beforehand. Very high tech here. Here it is. Consider these three things: the money, the hang, and this is upside down, the material. Here it is. The money, the hang, and the material. If you can get 2 out of the 3, take the job. If you can get 2 out of the 3. Let's go through these one by one here. This one first, the money. This is a big one. And this is very difficult for artists to navigate. Money is notoriously slushy and fluid when it comes to art. What is music worth? What is your playing on that song worth? How much are you worth per hour, per song, per day, per project? There are no rules for that. It's like, you could maybe learn what someone else charges, but it's not going to apply to you because maybe, the people you're working with don't have the same budgets, or whatever. So here's the thing. You have to learn what you are comfortable making on a given project. Maybe you don't know. Maybe you're like, I don't know what I'm worth, or whatever. Just throw out a number. If your client agrees to it, do the job, and then see how you feel after. Did you feel taken advantage of by the end of the project? Then charge more next time. Did you feel pretty good? Then, maybe that's a good amount. It's precisely because this is such a slushy and fluid thing in the industry, and it's always changing. It might not be the same today as it is next month, as it is next year. You have to be really, really solid on this. As a musician, you have to know what you're comfortable making. And this has held very true for me when I work on a project. Even if it's for a friend or none of that matters, the money is still the money. For a day of recording with me, whether that's at my house or in a studio or whatever, I charge $350. $350, you get me for one day. Maybe you could say it's like, that's not enough for what you're doing, but I don't want to price out work that I could get by saying I'm $800 a day to work with me or whatever. Plus, nobody's making that much. I'm $350 a day. I'm comfortable with that. I'm not ashamed of that. I don't think that's too expensive or too cheap. Money it's a tough one, but it's a big one, and it can kind of take over. But don't let it totally take over, because it's important, but it's not the only thing that's important. There are other important things, such as the hang. When you're working on creative projects, chemistry and vibe is like a big deal. Do you enjoy hanging out with the people that you're working with? Also, do they enjoy hanging out with you? Maybe you really like them, but they think you're awkward AF. It's important in any job, but it's especially important when you're like making music or doing creative work. So this is a big one too, and that should be as equal of a consideration as these other two. So the last one is the material. What is the actual content of the project that you're working on? Does it light you up inside? Does it spark joy? Does it make you hate life and want to die? These are things to consider. Now, a common pitfall when people are doing projects is they either will take it on with only one of these things, the hang, that's it. It's like, this is like your friend's band that wants you to record them. And you're like, oh, I like you guys. We always hang out, or whatever. But then you get there and like, their music is just horrible and noisy, trash, whatever. And also they can't pay you anything. So now you're basically just doing a favor to some friends for what? Just to get some experience recording like a band that you don't even want to show somebody, it's like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it to only do it for the hang, you guys. It's not worth it. Another common pitfall is that people expect to have all three of these things when they work on a project. That is an unrealistic expectation. Now, if you can get all three, go for it. Hey, it's like, good for you. If you can get all three, then just do that for the rest of your life. If you have a client that will pay you and you like hanging out with them and you really dig the material, then it's like dream scenario, great. But the reality is I've found that that's very rare. It's very rare that you get all three. When you get all three, take a lot of pictures and just like savor that moment. It's like going on a vacation or something. It's like, this isn't gonna last forever. I wanna appreciate this. This is amazing. But the point is, don't expect that all three of these things are going to happen on every project you do. It's an unrealistic expectation, no matter what level you're at. So let's go through a couple examples here. We've got, how about this? If you can get the money and the hang, take the job. What does this kind of job look like? The money and the hang. It's like, maybe it's someone you know, or it's like a friend of a friend who has money to pay you. They're going to pay you, whatever rate you're charging. So the money's good. And the hang. The hang is cool. They're cool people. You like hanging out with them, and they're like fun people to be around, or they're like life-giving. You got the money and you got the hang. The material is sort of like, maybe the material of this band is like, it's not that great. You could take it or leave it. Normally, if you have the money and the hang, if you enjoy going there and you're like, hey, I'm getting paid to record music and I like hanging out with these people, done deal. You feel great, you're making money, it's worth it. It's worth doing. I've done a lot of projects that have the money and the hang, and the material's like, maybe it's neither here nor there, but whatever. You get to work on music and you're getting paid for it, right? Okay, so here's another one. The hang and the material. This is like your own band, right? The hang is great. I love hanging out with these people. The material is like, this is what my life is about. This is what feeds my soul. I love working on this and I love hanging out with these people. What about the money? Nope, there's no money. At the end of the day, this is still like worth doing. I mean, this can't be every project because eventually you're gonna have to start making a little bit of money. But at the end of the day, it's like you're proud of it. And if it's material you really like, you're gonna probably use that, material to promote other work, and maybe that can get you some money, sometime in the future. This is like you're custom investing in your own portfolio of music. It's like, I want to have this material in my mix reel or whatever, because I think it just like, I know I could do a great job producing this band and like recording their stuff or whatever, and I'm proud to have worked on it. And at the end of the day, the money is kind of like, well, we'll make money other places. But the hang and the material, if you can get these two, these are super fun. Okay, there's only one left, right? Because there's only two. I think that's how math works. Here's the last one, the money and the material. Okay, this is like if you get the opportunity to work with a band or an artist who you really admire and love. Maybe if Radiohead called me and they were like, hey, we want you to help like assist on our next record. The money would very likely be pretty good. And the material is like, oh my God, it's amazing. This is like, I'm getting paid to also work on this amazing material. A lot of times, people who are like very successful and also very talented can be like really awkward to hang out with. That happens sometimes because all of their genius, all of their energy is spent on their music and not on social skills. This one's probably the most rare for me, but I have had situations where this has happened, and it's still worth doing. It's worth doing this. Okay, one little caveat at the end here. This is a tough one. This can take over your brain when you're working in creative work and you get a job and you're doing it and maybe you're having fun, you're hanging out with your friends or whatever, someone comes by and offers you more of this. And you're like, oh, an opportunity for growth, an opportunity for expansion. And then you go and you take this job and then you're like hating life and you're like, why am I hating life? And it's because you left these two behind. You left the hang and you left the material behind. maybe this new thing you're working on is paying you a bunch of money, but you don't really get on with the people that well, and the material is like you don't care about it. It's not worth leaving these two behind just for this. Don't take the money. I understand this makes life easier and this takes the stress off. And when you don't have this, you can have all the hang and the material you want, but it's sort of like poisoned by the lack of money because you're so stressed out. So you're like, I should be working on something I'm getting paid for or whatever. But don't get caught in the money trap. Find a way to find joy in it. And let's just remember, when we first got into music, we got into it, you guys, for these reasons. We got into it because this like lights us up inside and all the bells and whistles go off and it like gives us a sense of purpose and we want to do it for the rest of our life because it makes us feel transcendent and spiritual and one with the universe kind of a thing. And then we got into it for this because we love hanging out with our friends and like playing music together and experiencing things and challenging each other and just hanging out and like having a good time. If it's at the expense of these other things, then this is not worth it, okay? Don't chase this. That's why, again, as I said earlier, it's good with this to just have a locked in rate. How much are you gonna charge for this? Do a little bit of math, figure out how long it's gonna take you to do something, figure out how much you're willing to make per hour, subtract taxes, and there you go, that's how much you are. If that means that person's not gonna hire you, that's okay. Be okay walking away from stuff that is gonna pay you not enough money. You gotta get paid enough. Get paid enough, and then, consider these other two things. So I think we've talked about that enough. That's it. Hey, let me know if you have any questions about that. But I have to say, this has really held true for me and become like a part of who I am. When I'm considering taking on projects, that's what I think about. The money, the hang, the material. Hope you guys find that helpful, and we'll see you all next time.